Hi there, welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. And as I suspected yesterday when I was picking my herbs to make my herb mix, we were getting a hard frost last night. As you can see, the basil was a bit burnt, only on the top though, so I'm picking the rest of it today. And those tomatoes have got to be picked. So that's what we're doing today. We're picking green tomatoes. We're going to have a discussion about how to ripen them and the truth behind store tomatoes and how they're picked green anyway. We'll discuss all that in the kitchen, but right now, time to go picking. No matter how much I know winter's coming, I'm never ready. It is so freaking cold out there. It's like that damn cold that gets right in your bones. So I'm leaving a lot of the tomatoes until later in the day, until it dries out. But we're going to have that conversation about how tomatoes are picked for the mass market and how vine ripened tomatoes are not necessarily your best bet. In the middle of summer when they're just coming in like crazy, by all means, great. But this time of year, leaving them on the vine is basically throwing them away. Either the little animals that need some food are going to get to them, or you're going to get this. You know, that's wet and then cold, useless. What I'm doing is I am picking tomatoes that look kind of like this. It's still a little green, but I'd rather have them this way than lose them altogether. The best way to get them, and I'm trying to find them here, is at this stage. This is the 30 to 50% ripened stage. If you can get them this way and get them in the house, that would be perfect. We're not going to get that. Most of the tomatoes are still green. But let's talk about that. I don't have any green ones in here because, like I said, they're still on the vine. But I can use my cherry tomatoes to show you. These are green. The reason these are picked for the mass market is because they are hard. So when they're being transported a couple hundred, couple of thousand kilometers, they're not going to get bruised. These are not going to have a huge amount of flavor because they're just going to be transported. While they're transported, they're in a dark place. They will ripen up, and usually in the store, you get them like this. They're not really ripe, but they're getting there. Lack of flavor. This is why store-bought tomatoes are usually bland. But if you can pick them off the vine at this stage and then ripen them, guess what? They're going to be very tasty because at this point, this is what they consider 30 to 50% ripening stage. At this point, the tomato has actually stopped taking any nutrients from the plant. It's cut off its supply. It's like its umbilical cord to the plant, and it's going to ripen based on the ethylene of the tomatoes. Now, ethylene is that gas that offs from plants and helps them ripen. Yes, it's true. If you put them in a paper bag with a banana or an apple, that ethylene gas that's in there will help them ripen. But I'd have to have a lot of paper bags for the tomatoes I have outside. So what I'm going to do is place them on a blanket on the floor, covered in darkness, let the gases stay within them, and ripen them. Now, let's talk about the ones I've picked a few days ago. Now, I was picking them at this stage. That's, I'd say, about 30% ripening. This is how they were in a few days. And this is what they were in a week. Do you see the difference in the redness? These are beautiful. They're tasty. Because I picked them at that point where they're starting to ripen, these have ripened naturally. Now, in the store, when you get vine ripened tomatoes, they are picked at this stage where the ripeness has come from the vine It's now cut off its supply, so they call it vine ripened, but they're still not fully ripe. But why do they charge more for vine ripened tomatoes? Because there's going to be more spoilage. Therefore, they got to make up that money. They'll charge you more. Call it vine ripened, which they were. They started to ripen on the vine, but not completely ripened on the vine. This you're only going to get really midsummer. But I picked a few days ago, and let me show you. They looked, try to get it. They look like this, and now they look like this. What we're going to be doing is the exact same thing with all my San Marzano and Roma tomatoes. So one thing that I do need to mention is, let me put you back down here again. These have to be completely dry so that there is no opportunity for moisture to start rotting them. And I usually try to place them so that they're not touching each other. I'm just showing you this on the counter, but I will do this in the basement on a blanket. I try to have them not touching each other because the minute the skins touch, if there's any moisture there, that will be a spot for rot. Now, this is why you don't leave them on the vine, and I want to show you this. Blemishes, cracking. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. Cracking like this is because of moisture as it's growing. That spot for bacteria, that's going out to the chickens. And I know I saw another one in here. Chickens do like them, and there they are. I knew there was another one that had a crack in it. The chickens will get all the green tomatoes. I'll throw those all in there. But like I said, bring them in the house. Make sure that you are wiping them dry. When I get these ones like this, I will be, with a paper towel, drying them completely. And then they'll start to ripen, and I'll get at least some supply out of it. I'm gonna go out to the garden, get the rest of the tomatoes, and I'll just show you how I place them on the floor for a few days. Now, I am going to put this video out prior to them actually ripening because it'll take 3, 5, maybe even 7 days to ripen. And I don't want you to miss the opportunity to pick your tomatoes before it's too late. So I'll be putting out the video without the end result. That's why I was showing you my cherry tomatoes, because I want you to harvest. Don't think that you have to do green tomato relish or green tomatoes. You can try and ripen them and then use them rather than let them go to waste. I hate wasting food. Even if the animals get them, I still try to harvest as much for us as possible. So gonna meet you in the basement where I show you the end result of placing them under blankets. This is my setup. We're in the spare bedroom in the basement. And what I've done is lined the floor with a blanket, a warm blanket, and I put a flannel sheet above it. We're going to layer our tomatoes on this, and then I'm going to cover it with another blanket. We want to keep them warm and dark. And this is what we end up with. A ton of green tomatoes. They're nicely dry. They're on a cover, so a good warm blanket. Then a sheet, and that's a flannel sheet. You want them to breathe really well. But now I'm going to cover them with another sheet and another blanket. Keep them really warm. You want to make sure that those gases that help ripen stay in there. And because they are so green, I think it'll take me a good 7 days or longer to get, some ripe tomatoes. And I will assess at that point what I'm going to do with them. Salsa maybe, paste tomatoes, because these are the San Marzano and the Romas. and they are great paste tomatoes. So paste tomatoes as in tomato paste or as in pizza sauce, they're fabulous for that. So this is how I make sure that none of our tomatoes go to waste. Here we are. They're all covered and cozy, waiting to ripen. And see, my little nosy puppy. This is why I have them in the spare room, so that I can close the door and make sure that they're safe. Until next time, go out, live your best life, and please share our video with your friends.